The general store falls silent. Jacob Cole places coins on the counter one by one. "My wife is expecting our child," he says. The shopkeeper's face drains of color. "You married that thing." Outside, whispers turn to threats. The 9-foot woman they fear is carrying something the world has never seen. Before we dive in, comment where in the world you are watching from, and don't forget to click subscribe. The dust hung thick in the evening air as Jacob Cole guided his wagon toward the old Morrison property. He had paid $60 for the abandoned homestead, every cent he'd saved from 3 years of breaking his back on other men's ranches. At 22 years old, 5'6" of wiry muscle and stubborn determination, he needed a place to call his own. As the wagon crested the final ridge, Jacob pulled back on the reins. There, in the golden light of the setting sun, stood a massive wooden structure. From inside came a sound that made his blood run cold, singing, a woman's voice, low and haunting. The doors burst open. Jacob stumbled backward. A woman emerged, but not like any woman he had ever seen. She was enormous, 9 feet tall, with broad shoulders and copper hair falling past her waist. Her pale green eyes fixed on him with startling intensity. "You are the new owner," she said, her voice like distant thunder. Jacob swallowed hard. "Yes, I bought this land fair and square." The woman's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "I know what you have. The question is, do you know what you have bought?" She stepped closer. "My name is Ilara. This place has been mine for longer than your grandfather has been dead." That night, lying in darkness, Jacob heard her singing again. There was longing in that voice, a deep aching need that resonated with something buried in his own chest. The war had taken his father and brother. His mother had remarried and moved east. He understood loneliness. 2 days later, Ilara told him her story. "My people are old. Older than the tribes that hunted these plains before the white men came. We are the giants your kind have told stories about since you first learned to speak. Most of us are gone now, faded into legend." Her voice broke. "I have been alone for 30 years. I am tired of having no one to share the burden of these long years." She looked at him with desperate hope. "I need a companion. And I need a child. Someone to carry on when I am gone, so I am not the last." Jacob should have run. Instead, he heard himself say, "I have been alone since I was 17. I spent 5 years drifting, never belonging anywhere." He stepped closer. "Maybe we found each other for a reason. Maybe we both need something only the other can give." Ilara's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "Oh, thank you, little man." They learned each other slowly. Ilara showed Jacob her world tapestries depicting giants walking among mountains, artifacts from a dying race. Jacob shared stories of his lost family, his dreams of belonging somewhere. When they finally came together at the hidden spring behind the property, it was awkward and tender and utterly unlike anything either had imagined. The size difference should have made it impossible, but they found a way. In the warm water, with patience and trust, they joined not just their bodies but their souls. "You have given me hope," Ilara whispered afterward, holding him against her chest. "For the first time in decades, I have hope." 3 weeks later, Ilara woke with her hand on her belly. "I can feel it," she said, wonder in her voice. "A life taking root." Jacob pressed his hand over hers, feeling the future growing between them. The months that followed were filled with preparation and growing love. But the outside world would not leave them in peace. When Jacob went to town for supplies and mentioned his wife, the word spread like wildfire. The unnatural union. The monster on the Morrison property. A man named Briggs confronted him outside the general store. "We got laws against mixing with animals." Jacob's hand moved to his revolver. "My wife is not an animal. Choose your next words carefully." But he knew the threat was real. When he told Ilara, she held him close. "They will come. Men like that always do." The labor lasted 2 days. Jacob never left Ilara's side, even when she squeezed his hands until he thought his bones might break. When she began to fade, he gripped her face. "You are the strongest person I have ever known. You can do this. Our child needs you. I need you. The cry that split the air was not entirely human, a sound of pure life and fury. A girl, Jacob breathed, catching the enormous baby. Ilara, it's a girl. They named her Mara. Gift. She was perfect, twice the size of a normal newborn, with skin already showing faint markings like her mother's and warm brown eyes like her father's. The peace didn't last. Within weeks, Briggs and his men began speaking of driving them out. A fire. Then salvation came from an unexpected source. Apache warriors appeared on the horizon, led by Chief Running Bear, Ilara's distant cousin. The tribe has heard of your troubles, he said. We offer sanctuary. Protection for your family. Jacob looked at the stern but kind faces. But I'm white. Would they accept me? Running Bear stepped forward. You married one of the old ones. You gave her what her people could not, a child of the future. That makes you family. And family we protect. The years in Apache lands were good. Mara grew into a remarkable child, learning her mother's stories and her father's skills. The tribe came to love this gentle giant who could lift them effortlessly but never used her strength to harm. When Jacob was 60, his body finally failing, he lay surrounded by family. Mara held his hand, tears streaming. Thank you, Father, for being brave enough to love Mother, to love me. It was the easiest thing I ever did, Jacob smiled. Ilara knelt beside the bed, her massive form somehow small in her grief. Jacob touched her face. You will never be alone. You have Mara. You have the tribe. And you have my love, which will not end just because my body does. He looked at them both. I have no regrets. None at all. Ilara lived for many more years, watching her daughter raise children of their own children who carried both human and giant blood, who walked between two worlds with confidence and grace. The story of Jacob Cole spread far and wide, the small man who saw not a monster but a woman, who chose not fear but love, who proved that the size of a person's heart matters more than the size of their body. On quiet evenings, Ilara would sit by his grave and tell him about their grandchildren, about how their love had changed the world. And sometimes, in the wind through the trees, she could swear she heard his voice. I told you we were not alone anymore. In the end, that was Jacob Cole's true legacy, proof that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. That love requires not perfection, but presence. That the smallest person can have the biggest heart. And somewhere in the space between legend and memory, a small man and a giant woman still walk together, hand in hand, proving that some loves are too powerful for even death to part.